Hey, welcome to Wine Talks with Paul K. And we actually in the conference room today having a conversation with you folks about the past season 13 and what's coming in season 14. With over 160,000 downloads, Wine Talks is fast becoming one of the great wine talk shows. And I want to expand it into other things. We've been talking to chefs, we've been talking to influencers, and we've been talking to people outside the industry, people that are looking into the industry. So Wine Talks is going to expand itself into other things. But season 13, what a season. We saw the wine Wally, translated in the Queen's English, the wine idiot in Liam Darcy. We had a conversation with entrepreneur Nia Ruth, who has started a wine club because of her influence on the internet with Instagram and Facebook and things. We had a conversation with an organic distilled spirits maker. This was so interesting because the day before I had a conversation with Zach from Z Biotics, who's made this genetically modified probiotic that helps you with a hangover, actually prevents a hangover. So here we are talking about genetically modified things, which is taboo in today's industry, today's food and wine industry. But then the next day I had a conversation with a non-GMO distilled spirits maker, one of the few in America who's making rum and vodka out of non-genetically modified grain. And so two opposing forces in the same week that we had these conversations. It's incredible stuff. We saw the fall of Wink, one of the great wine club models in our space. And I mean our space being our industry. And I've been doing this for 32 years, been tasting wines, tasted over 100,000 wines in my career. And we saw Wink, which started out as Club W, file bankruptcy. Amazing. And why? And we're going to discuss that in season 14 as to what happened. I have a rant coming up that we're going to talk about this as a problem. We had a crazy good conversation with Kira Ballotta, and she invited me into her home up in Napa Valley, right downtown. We had a conversation, and as the conversation evolved, I even had a listener write in saying, wow, I sensed your tone change, that this became a real conversation. And it made me think, yeah, it was a real conversation. She really struck home. It was one of the podcasts where I felt this amazing connection to her story, to what she was doing. And when I tasted her wines, it was obvious that her history and her study of the wine business is coming through in what she's creating in the bottle. Completely different than her counterparts across the Napa Valley. And season 14 is coming up. And we're looking forward on January 17th to launch season 14. We're having a new set. We're going to have new guests. We're going to have new stories to tell. We're going to talk about all things wine and all things food and all things influencer in the wine space. In fact, we had one incredible guest in season 13, Dr. Hollander. Dr. Hollander was diagnosed with incurable prostate cancer. And for any men over 50, as I am, this is an important subject for us. And here, this gentleman is a doctor. He's a pulmonologist, worked at the VA, and he had the courage and the guts to come on the show. And when I asked him, what are the taboo subjects? He goes, there aren't any. You can discuss whatever you want to discuss. I'm prepared to discuss it with you. So that's an incredible conversation. Bob Hollander, and he has a line of wines where all the proceeds go to prostate cancer research. So season 14 is going to look for these sort of avenues, these different places to go in the wine industry. It's not just about swirling and sniffing. In fact, all my shows have avoided that subject. What's interesting to me are the stories around the wine industry, that we're all people, and we have stories to tell. Everyone's got a story. We have Chastity Cooper coming on. She is the bougie wine cousin. She says, call me your bougie wine cousins. We have Justine Mitchell, who's a winemaker, and we discuss Vincent Morrow, the young Black man who became the Psalm of the Year in Decanter Magazine and other periodicals, and he works at the Press, which is one of the great restaurants in the Napa Valley. We have a conversation with Carolyn Covington, who just planted grapes in Virginia, of all places. So these conversations, they're in the can, they're being released, and you're going to have a great time listening to them. One of the subjects that I really want to talk about this season and try and convey to the consumer of the wine business of how this has evolved. I've come a long way in 32 years stocking the shelves of my father's store with Gallo, screw caps that's how screw caps got their, moniker. But the wine industry was different then. And with the fall of Wink and other clubs to come, that model, which is producing oversugared, underflavored, non-pedigreed wines, has changed the landscape of consumerism in the wine business. And we think it's coming back. We think it's coming back to the romance and the special ambiance that surrounds a good glass of wine. We're going to talk about that. We're going to go to the stores, actually. We're going to do some videotaping and try to disrupt some things. When you have an idea for a guest on the show, if you've come across somebody in your travels, a sommelier at a restaurant or somebody that talks about wine, who's an influencer, we'd love to hear from you. If you want to send us an email at socialmedia@womclub.com, that's socialmedia@womclub.com, just drop us a note. Give us a name. If you have contact information, we would love to get a hold of that person and have a conversation for the podcast. It could be somebody you see on TV. It could be somebody you read about. Happy to entertain the idea. So season 14 coming up January 17th. We're excited about it. I'm excited about it. We've already had 3 incredible conversations. Cheers.